category is Best Supplement. Now, this is, of course, going through the supplements of the Criterion Collection releases for 2018. As you know, there are many different kinds of supplements. Sometimes they are visual supplements, namely audio-video supplements like documentaries or interviews. Sometimes they are just audio supplements like audio commentaries. Sometimes they are just written supplements like special essays or special booklets or the like. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to think of all sorts of supplements rather than focusing on specific types of supplements. And I've tried to look at the supplements in terms of interest factor, in terms of how much they have provided certain pieces of information for me that I might not necessarily have known about before. Also, just my own personal tastes come into play, of course. Now, what I've done is I've tried my best to focus on Criterion-produced supplements or Criterion-prepared supplements. And what I've tried to do is I've tried to narrow down my focus on those sorts of supplements. However, there might be some occasions where I don't necessarily do that. And as you know, supplemental material is not always produced by Criterion. Sometimes Criterion takes supplemental material that was already in existence, and they are just using it for the purpose of the Criterion release. So they might take, let's say, a broadcast from a television program from some years back from a channel and put it on as a supplement, or they might take an essay that was printed in another publication some years ago, or there might be an audio commentary that was used in a previous release that was non-Criterion. So there are always non-Criterion generated supplements, but for the most part I'll try to focus in on Criterion produced supplements, except for one item, which I will just explain as we get to it. Okay, so there have been so many supplements that have been great this year, and I feel so bad leaving them out. But here are what I consider to be, at this point in time anyway, 5 of my favorite supplements from the Criterion releases in 2018. Number 5 is spine number 919, Dead Man, and specifically the supplement is the Q&A session given by director Jim Jarmusch. Now, in other Criterion releases of Jarmusch-directed films, such as Mystery Train, etc., Jarmusch gives these Q&A sessions, and it's a very interesting format. It's true here as well. What happened was Criterion sent the call out to the general public asking for questions, and the questions would be directed to Jarmusch, and the idea would be that Jarmusch would therefore take a certain selected slice of questions, and he would answer them in a session that would be recorded and edited and produced as a supplement, which would then be on the subsequent release of his film Dead Man. And that's what happened. So the Q&A session here is wonderful. It is a lovely session. Jarmusch again shows his deft ability at being very witty, at being incredibly intelligent with his comments and with his responses. And he is very sly, and he is so in his element. He has a wonderful character, which is why I think many people adore him and his works. He is very charming. So the Q&A session here not only is a nice supplement that shows his thinking, but also shows his personality and his character traits, which I think suggest a very charismatic persona indeed. What's also great about the Q&A given by Jarmusch here is that it gives the film, or this release anyway, a sense of interaction between us, the viewers, and the Criterion Collection itself. You know, the Criterion Collection has, at least from my point of view, this aura of impenetrability. It's almost like a veil is surrounding it and it's impenetrable. Well, supplements like this, the Q&A supplement from Jarmusch, provides a sense of piercing that veil and creating a connection between us, the viewer, and Jarmusch, the filmmaker, via the Criterion Collection supplement. That is a really lovely feeling to have as a viewer. Now, I personally didn't provide any question that was answered by the director in that particular supplement. I wish I had, and I would have been even more thrilled. I would have been over the moon if my question had been selected, but perhaps next time. In the meantime, my friends, Dead Man, the Q&A session with the director, is my number 5 favorite Criterion supplement from 2018. Incidentally, I could have also chosen the great interview that is given by Gary Farmer, which is included here. Yes, the actor Gary Farmer gives a wonderful interview. It is one of the great interviews. I was debating whether I should focus on that or whether I should focus on the Q&A. And the Q&A just edged it out slightly, but the interview with Gary Farmer is really compelling. And it's another example of why this release of Dead Man is a really worthwhile one. Dead Man. Spine number 918 is my number 4 choice. The Color of Pomegranates. The supplement in question here is the commentary given by none other than the great, the legendary Mr. Tony Raines. Tony Raines already has a fantastic, just a fantastic reputation as a master provider of audio commentaries for some great works. I would point you, for instance, to the great commentary that he gave, for instance, on the Edward Yang film, A Brighter Summer Day, which is also in the Criterion Collection. This commentary by him is one of the greatest I have ever heard. It is at once very entertaining and so densely packed with information. But it is never dry, it is never dull, it is never boring. It is always lively and exciting and rich. And you know when you're listening to this commentary that you are listening to a master. But he is a master that doesn't show any arrogance or any it doesn't feel like he is speaking down to you. He feels like he genuinely wants to share his knowledge with us. And that is a lovely, warm trait to have, and it's a very welcoming one. And it makes, I think, his commentaries so engaging and warm. And it makes me want to, I want to lean in a little bit more, and my posture is a little bit more straight and or straighter, and I want to listen in and try to make sure my ears are keen and trying to pick up everything that he's saying, because there's so much information. And especially with this film too, I find this film to be a captivating one, but I admit that I am not the biggest expert in this particular film, and so maybe I need to watch it again and again, and with Mr. Raines' help I will hopefully gain a greater appreciation. But the first time I watched the film with a commentary, I was just blown away, and this is one of the great commentaries in the Criterion Collection from 2018. But also I would say it's probably one of the great commentary tracks in the Criterion Collection proper. So that's how good I think it is. And I could have chosen any other. There were some great commentary tracks this year. There was so many great ones, but I chose this one because, again, just that mixture of welcomeness and congeniality and also the wealth of knowledge that is on display is just second to none, I think. Tony Raines' commentary for The Color of Pomegranates. Number 3 is spine number 910. The film is Tom Jones. The supplement in question here is the interview that is given by none other than Vanessa Redgrave. And Vanessa Redgrave here is talking about Tony Richardson, her husband. And Tony Richardson is, of course, the director of Tom Jones. This is one of the most fascinating interviews in any Criterion set of supplements, I think. It's a fairly short interview. It's not that long, but there are some stories and details and some pieces of information that are very engaging, intimate, from my point of view, sometimes very striking, sometimes very surprising, very illuminating. And I was captivated by this interview that Vanessa Redgrave gave, and it was wonderful. One of the loveliest interviews I think I've seen on any set of interviews that have been included in a Criterion Collection release. And this is a very interesting set of information as well, because I don't know much about Tony Richardson as a director during this period when he did Tom Jones. And so this is something that was very educational from my point of view, very enlightening. And that it came from none other than Vanessa Redgrave, I think, is just something that is very... It's something else, I think. I mean, of course, I love it when really smart academics give interviews, but there's just something magical about an interview given by someone who is so intimate with a particular player in the piece. And here we're talking about Vanessa Redgrave, who of course had a very close relationship with Tony Richardson, the director. So this was a lovely interview. If you can, please try to find the interview and watch it. Watch the film as well. Tom Jones, I don't think it's been getting a lot of attention as one of the great releases of 2018 necessarily. I think it's a great film. I think it's really wonderful. I love its wittiness. I love its inventiveness. And I think it is very funny in places. And when I saw it again upon this release by Criterion, I just was surprised how much I adored it. So this is one that I would recommend as a film proper. But in terms of a discussion on supplements, the interview, Vanessa Redgrave's interview, where she talks about Tony Richardson, is just utterly sublime. So here is my number 3. Number 2 is spine number 942. Now, I guess I might be surprising some of you out there that I am not naming this as my number 1 favorite supplement. It is number 2 favorite supplement. But I think number 2, the second place, I think is still excellent. I think it's really high. But, and I was really struggling, should I put this in number 1 or number 2? And I think for me personally, what I chose for number 1 just edged this out slightly, but not by much, by maybe 0.000001 or something like that. This is one of the most amazing things I have ever seen. Spine number 942. This is the Tree of Life, the so-called new extended version. the new extended version. So you know that the original theatrical cut is a little over 2 hours. Well, the new extended version adds about 50 minutes or so to the entire running time. So you're getting a lot of new stuff. And the new extended version was prepared specifically for this Criterion release. Amazing, amazing. And in many respects, the new extended version is, in many respects, maybe a different film. It's a different entity. It's a different beast, because there are certain aspects of character development and the way that characters are revealed in the new extended version that I think alter or have the potential of altering one's outlook on this film. This is something that I hope it gets some real critical academic study in the future. I have tried to focus on the differences in Facebook groups. I think in some Criterion-related Facebook groups, in fact, I actually wrote down a huge breakdown of all of the differences I could find between the original or the theatrical release and the new extended version. And there are, indeed, my friends, some pretty significant differences. The film, the new extended version film, is, I think, miraculous and is just, it fills me with awe. It is lovely, beautiful. It is like just a miracle. Now, I will probably try my best to avoid answering the question, which is better, the theatrical version or the extended version. I don't know. And to be perfectly frank, I'm not sure ultimately if that question is ultimately very important, or at least I don't know if it really matters in the end which is better, because it is all part of the same landscape, the world that is created, the Terrence Malick world of the Tree of Life. And so there are the same characters. They are the same characters that are depicted in both versions. It's just what is revealed and the way of revelation is slightly different, so you get different outlooks. Still, it feels to me like rather than trying to pick between the two versions, I would prefer, perhaps, to think of the new extended version as another lease on life in the overall universe of the Tree of Life. That might be a cop-out, but I really mean that in all earnestness. So with that in mind, the new extended version of the Tree of Life is one of those great miracles. And this is maybe the prime example of why Criterion is so great. This and the Bergman box, I think, are the two reasons that Criterion is king. The Tree of Life New Extended Version is one of the greatest supplements in the history of supplements. So, if you haven't gotten this release already, what are you waiting for? The Tree of Life, it's waiting to be explored by you. And if you do, watch this film, whatever version it is. It can be the extended version or the theatrical version or both. Let me know what you think, because I would love to hear your thoughts about this fascinating, complex, and rich film, The Tree of Life. So, I've just spoken about the Tree of Life and the new extended version of the Tree of Life, and I love that supplement so much. I could have named it as my #1 favorite supplement of a Criterion release for 2018, but I didn't. And the reason why is because there is just one other supplement out there that beats it just by a hair, from my point of view. And this supplement that I'm about to name, it resonates with me so much and so directly and so purely that I'm just numb every time I visit this particular supplement. It is something that is incredibly powerful and so meaningful, and so much so that I can never think of the film again without thinking of this particular supplement. What's the film I'm talking about? Well, this is spine number 927, El Sur. And this is the film by filmmaker Victor Erice, one of the most powerful films I have ever seen. And the film was based on a story, a novella, which was written by Adelaida Garcia Morales. And the novella was published a couple of years after the film was released, actually. But the story, the underlying story, is of course set forth in this novella. Well, Criterion have done us a real favor here. They included the novella in this small booklet form. So the novella itself, in terms of this printed little booklet, is only 44 pages. And it's in English. And this is this is translated by Thomas G. Devaney by permission of the University of Nebraska Press. English translation copyright 1999 by the University of Nebraska Press. So this is something that has already been published in English, the English translation of this novella. However, the inclusion of this with this release is, for me, very significant, because it suggests to me that the novella and the story is just as important as the film itself. And I really believe that. I believe that this is very important. Let me just put it like so. Okay. So this is the novella, the Adelaida Garcia Morales novella. So this is the novella El Sur, and the novella is so important to this story because as you know, the film has a certain structure. Now, I don't want to talk too much about it, but there's a certain structure about the film such that the way it ends, or let me put it this way, the scope of the film is only a portion of the underlying novella story. So therefore, the novella provides the full picture, so to speak. In many ways, El Sur might be considered to be an incomplete picture, because the second half of the film that was planned was ultimately not made. And so you have essentially a portion of the entire story that is made into this film. It is a miracle that the film is as powerful as it is, and it feels like a complete film on the one hand, but on the other hand, you understand that there is some unresolved elements that are at play. Well, we get the story in this novella, and it is incredibly moving. This is an incredibly moving read. It's just astounding to me, just how emotionally draining this particular story is. And so I can only imagine what could have been. In other words, the film as it is now is a masterpiece, but had it been complete, based on the complete story that's presented in this novella, I can only imagine what that could have meant as a final film. Could we have perhaps gotten something that is greater than the masterpiece that we already have? Who knows? It's very likely. I'm not sure. But if the novella and the underlying story is anything to go by, my goodness, I can imagine nothing but the absolute best, the absolute summit of artistic greatness. This story is remarkable, and for my money, the essence of this story helps us to understand this film with more clarity, and it helps us provide a fuller picture with respect to the main character, Estrella. And so this is a fundamentally important supplemental material to this film. And it is for that reason why I consider this novella reproduction to be my number one favorite supplement of a Criterion 2018 release, the novella El Sur, Adelaida Garcia Morales. Okay, my friends, so that has been a discussion of the supplements and my favorite supplements from Criterion 2018 releases. If you have any favorites of any supplements from any Criterion releases from this year that you want to talk about, please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. And in the meantime, I look forward to talking to you again very soon.